Good morning. It
Good morning.
is
Yes, it is.
Wednesday, February 5th, and we are discussing year 5 in Etgar Keret's 7 Good Years. Got more people coming up. Welcome, 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 everyone. So what I first wanted to do is he said imaginary Poland, and I wanted to show you. I did some quick Googling, and when I Google Poland, this comes up. It's all in color. I mean, that looks nice. But when you put in
Warsaw.
Warsaw, I'm going to put in ghetto, and then it's all in black and white. Now I know I could, let's see, I'll try, see if I just put in. Oh, so if you just put in Warsaw, there is some, you have to go down, you have to put in, oh, wait, somebody's here. So, but when he said the black and white, 2 of my 3 kids have been to concentration camps and have been as part of their semester in Israel. And one of the things that the leaders of the trip say to them, you might want to take your pictures in black and white.
Can I make a comment about that?
Sure.
As a photo researcher, I can tell you that some of the most iconic images we have of all time are in black and white, obviously for technological reasons. But black and white, a lot of nature is taken in black and white. There's such beauty in black and white and gray. And so I was sad to think that people think that just because something's black and white, it's old.
Yes. I mean, listen, my kids take it on purpose in black and white, and I think that's good.
Placing an emergency call now.
Oops.
Please press and hold it.
So, and I thought, what he said about Poland. I have not been to Poland, but I've been through Germany and Eastern Europe. And when you're on the trains there, and I went, 37 years ago. Because now if you go, how could those people be alive from World War II? They'd have to be like 100 or 90.
There was that movie that was just with Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, yes.
Or whatever.
Yes.
And they went back to see their grandmother's house.
Right. A real pain.
And it was a real pain. And it was just nothing there. And they were so disappointed.
Yeah.
There, so that reminded me of that.
Yes, Mary.
I don't know if I'm giving something away because I wasn't here last time when you talked about. So in Poland, in Warsaw, where his mother lived, there was an alley. And there's an artist in Europe that is taking those places and rebuilding something, and he's giving it to artists. So he built this little alley house.
Yeah.
And so cramped for Etgar Keret. It's his mother. It's where his it's this little alley or street where.
That's so cool.
Yes, but it's all of it. And they did something on 60 Minutes on this. I still remember. That's what I think it was someplace else I saw it, but it's also online. But he talked about it in the book. And I don't, so I'm giving away more than I should because I read this
later in the book?
It must be if you're all looking at me like I don't know what this.
Yeah,
He talked. It's really tiny.
Here it is. I'll just quick.
It's uncomfortable to be in. I mean, but it was sort of like his.
The concept is nice.
The Keret House is a structure and installation in Warsaw, Poland. It was designed by the architect Jakub. I don't know how to pronounce Sazonis, through the architecture from Centrala.
The narrowest house in the world.
Yeah, and described as the narrowest house in the world, measuring 92 centimeters. That's 3 feet at its thinnest point and 5 feet at its widest. Right. The 2-story installation was named after the Israeli writer and filmmaker Etgar Keret, who was the building's first tenant.
There's a house in Deerfield.
God.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I knew it's called the Pie House.
Pie House.
And my Well, it's my girlfriend's kid lived there.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to see inside.
I know. She sold it.
Yeah.
She would have, and she teaches here. She teaches second grade here.
They had it at Airbnb and then they just sold it to somebody, I think.
They sold, I don't know. I mean, she sold it. She lives in Buffalo Grove
It's
now.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
much different looking inside.
Yeah. Alice.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the use of color and black and white. You know, I'm a film buff, but I can't, the only example that comes to mind, unfortunately, is Wizard of Oz. But think about it, when she's in Kansas, it's all black and white, and then she gets to Oz and it's all in color. I mean, black and white and color are used in lots of art and film to, you know, express different emotions. So I think it's very, very telling in this story.
Lynn.
And our first stop on our Eastern European trip was Warsaw. And as we're walking down the street, my husband, who's a history major, was talking about the bombing out of Warsaw and that it was totally decimated. And then we went into this building and there was a picture of I can't remember who did the picture, but they rebuilt Warsaw based on the picture. And that's what they had to, I'm sure some of you all saw that, but it was amazing to see what they took out of the ashes and built, and they are very proud of it. And you know what? Warsaw is doing a lot to confront their past.
Agreed. And it was totally bombed and, you know, it's come back and there is some resurgence, I think, at the, Mary was there, but at the JCC, you know, I
They're
think,
struggling because they're just beginning to pull people back, but part of the problem has been generations.
Yeah.
It's not like 20 years after World War II.
Yeah.
It's just started.
yeah,
And so you're getting the children of the children. I mean, it's not, you know, that's.
grandchildren.
So, yeah.
oh, yeah.
And it's, and then of course, you know, even the children of Holocaust survivors that are still there, very few people stayed. I mean,
They're here. They're in
here.
Skokie.
They're in Skokie, they're in Israel,
They're
they're,
in Northbrook, right?
yeah. And so that makes a difference. But it was lovely. They gave us dinner. I mean, it was just so nice. They were just so excited to see us. But it's done on a shoestring. And actually, Ike belongs to that JCC to help them out. He thought, and so Rick and I came home, we have not done it. So, we should, because our check, if we gave a regular check, even if it was tiny,
Yeah,
would make a huge difference
Yeah.
to their budget.
Yeah.
You know, it's the impact would be, it's immense, but yeah, it was really interesting. And I did thought Warsaw's it's how we describe it, it's very vibrant and lots of color. We were there in the spring and they plant, I've done some work on the garden here. They plant it and I bought daffodils to put in there. You know, it says they plant daffodils. Okay, when you go walk into the main gate, the main area, there's still some wall left. The whole place was flowers. You know, they were all yellow.
yellow
daffodils.
flowers is the Holocaust.
Exactly. And so it's all daffodils. And we were there right when they were blooming. So it was like,
Gorgeous.
you know, that was sort of a contrast to what it was really like, because it was dank, it was dark, it was horrible. I mean, let's get real here. I mean, you know, so.
And I think that, you know, this whole black and white and thinking back because, you know, a lot of those movies. I do have to say about color and black and white, I love old movies and I love Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. And I would just give anything to see the color of the dresses. Because it's beautiful. You could wear those dresses today, but how can you know, we don't.
Nightgowns.
What?
Nightgowns are gorgeous.
Everything's gorgeous.
I love a nightgown.
Anyway, okay, so and Edgar Keret is like, he doesn't mind going back. He thinks it's important. And of course, his mother's a Holocaust survivor, and his parents are there. The next one, Fat Cats. And just a little background. In Israel, nobody wears a suit. Not to your wedding, maybe a suit jacket, not a tie. Was BB in a tie yesterday? He probably was. But BB, he grew up in America, so he doesn't count. And
For a lot of reasons.
yes, for a lot of reasons. You are correct. And I think that this whole, when he wanted to go in the suit to this little preschool conference, and that they both know deep down that you're not called in because the kid is fabulous, and so I think they had some foreshadowing for that. Alice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Oh.
yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
can
Your
you hear
hands
me?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. This is what I was gonna say. I love this story. I think it's a good example of other times he does it in the book, is that he so beautifully transitions from his little son in preschool to what the politicians are doing. And I think it's such a great way of explaining, yeah, you know what? Wait, what does Love say? I love it. I love
Well,
what he
first,
says, and then it's
right.
like,
First, the teacher, said she's talked to him.
oh,
And you think it's possible? My wife continued that a 5-year-old can control an adult and
Yes.
force her, to bring all the chocolates.
no.
He says
But
yes.
what I was going to say is, he says, because I'm not a kid, I'm a cat.
Yeah.
And then it's
Meow,
like,
meow.
it's like what's happening in our country now. It's like,
Yeah.
these people are saying, well, the law doesn't apply to me. So that's why I think it's such a great story, because he starts with his 5-year-old son and he goes to what all these horrible politicians are doing.
Right.
If you could exchange DEI,
That was
cat.
my impression of the story.
Right.
if you could have exchanged DEI for cat, you would have had it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
So I had
And Omar, he wasn't prime minister for a long time, but he had come up. He was mayor of Jerusalem, and when any politician is caught, and I don't know why we should be surprised, but it's like, really? Evie, then Mary.
I had two laugh out loud reflections as I was reading this late last night. And the first one was, unfortunately, we were at a funeral on Monday, and our son, who went to pay a Shiva call later in the evening, saw the wife and the kids of our friend who passed away, and said, so and so looked like a yeshiva guy. And I said, why are you saying that? He said, well, he was wearing a suit. And I thought to myself, even now, we don't know how to dress for those kinds of things. In our day, yeah, everybody did wear a suit for a funeral or a shiva and so on and so forth. And here was a blustery day at not Waldheim, the other one, West Lawn. And I thought about it afterwards, because this particular family, one set of children are Orthodox, the other could be as far removed as possible. So there was that difference. But the other thing that I really had to laugh at about the chocolate, when my kids were in religious school at Solel, at Legacy Solel, a real point of issue was the candy machine. The candy machine that was down the hall was a place that some of the kids got in trouble for going there all the time. Some of the kids were almost rewarded for it. I mean, and it depended on the mood of the administrator at the time or the teacher at the time. And I don't know if that candy machine was still there, but that was really a point
That-
of, you know, very
Yeah,
harmless event.
that is absolutely hilarious. Legacy Lakeside had a pop machine. So, you see, and now I think if you'd say that, people are like, that's not healthy, blah, 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 blah. Lynn,
This is just for politicians, frankly. I think our country, our world, has rejected rules and
Oh.
lines that are, you know, things that they would never have violated before. They're saying, oh, I can do this. This isn't going to hurt anybody. And it's, I had this discussion with a friend about how we used to have this core moral understanding of what was right and what was wrong. And now that is so blurred about what is right and what is wrong.
right.
And this is, I agree with what everyone said. And then I said, okay, I'm going to try to make this more universal instead of just the politicians. Because, I mean, even to dress codes, I'm from another generation because we used to dress up to go to ballet or the theater
Or on the plane, get on the plane.
ripped jeans and torn shirts. And I don't know, it just seems that there is such a loosening, not only of clothes, but of morality. And drivers now, I mean, we're on the highway and we're going, oh my God, that guy almost just, you know, crashed into us. So I don't know where it started happening, or maybe it's the leaders of our country that are giving us the cues, but
It
I
could
think
be.
that we all think we
Yeah.
all think that we are cats.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Mary, did you have something to, before, go ahead.
Okay, it's a story about Omar. So Rick and I heard him speak a couple of months ago. And of course, he was at Temple Emmanuel, and you know, he got tremendous accolades, and he spoke incredibly well. I mean, I mean, he's an amazing
He's an amazing
point
guy.
of view we agree with. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm all excited. I come back and tell Ike, and I could not say he is terrible or something. I mean, he did not tell me about the
Yes,
graft.
yeah.
He just kind of was very himself. Kind of, oh, that's really interesting. You know, he was not enthusiastic.
Yeah, I
Let's
wonder.
put it that way. So then about 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks later, I read this and went, oh my God.
Now we know why. Exactly.
But he has redeemed himself. No one seems to remember.
Yeah.
When Temple Emmanuel has 1,000 people sitting in their synagogue and a couple of thousands online all applauding the man. I mean, people
Well,
have
I think-
forgotten or they don't know. And that's
No,
one of the
no.
problems.
People who were there were old and had manners and didn't bring it up. I can't believe nobody didn't know. That's just a knowledge.
That's true. That's true. Except for that, they acted like, you know.
No, he's great, right? Ellen.
They have to, did you unmute me?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I actually, I wasn't going to say what Lynn did, but I think that's very true about how everybody wants to break rules, going through red lights, whatever. But I think that could have been in the author's mind. I mean, I think he's so brilliant. I laugh at every story, well, most stories that I read. I think he's great. And I've read a little bit about him and have nothing but total respect. I think this is one of the best authors we've read. But now I forgot my main, what I was going to say. Wasn't my main point, but I think the way the father handles it with him the next morning is so great. And then of course he relates it to news in the world and what's going on. All kids do this. I think that the cat is quite unusual, or at least I'd never heard of a kid saying I'm a cat, you know, but it's just great. And it's so apropos of just normal life. I mean, he picks things that are just very much in our minds and has a different way to comment.
Yeah. Merle. Oh, and then Barb. Oh, wait. I'll unmute you. Go ahead. Start over, Merle.
When Israel became a country, there were comments made about, well, this won't be a real country until they have criminals, until they have a corrupt government. And badly behaved boys. So it is a real country, and this is not unusual. Look what's going on in our city right now. There's trial going on, waiting to see. if Mike Madigan is going to be guilty or not.
Yeah.
As far as the little boy, he didn't even share his chocolate though. Once he got the chocolate, he kept it all for himself. And
Of course.
everyone sadly behaved.
Appropriate.
And it's just very realistic. And I think his story just hits home for everybody, not just Israel or not just his little boy's preschool, but that happens everywhere. So it's very accurate.
Barb.
I just wanted to comment on, this is all about semantics and spinning. And the thing that I love best about quite a few of his stories is that they're all timeless. I mean, you'll still be talking about it 50 years from now. The same stuff will still be going on.
Which is
Sad.
a little bit sad, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
It's like-
sad that, politicians always cheat and, I have Alice and then Judy. Alice.
Yeah, Lynn, I'm gonna agree with you. I know I often don't, but I'm gonna agree with you. I thought it was a great commentary on our society. And I often, when I'm driving, I say, these people are selfish. All they're thinking about is, can they get to their location as fast as they can? It's just, I feel that there is a softening of being with respectful to other people within society. And it's funny when it's a kid. I mean, I laughed, and then I was like, oh my God, he got to Olmert and all the politicians, and it was like I wasn't laughing anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. Judy.
I think one of the things, I'll start with, the beginning of the story was trying to imagine Poland, and I thought, well, I can't relate to this. But everything he writes about, we can all relate to, ultimately.
Yeah.
Maybe not the beginning paragraph, but definitely by the time you get to the middle of the story, all of the items that he's brought up are relatable to everyone's life.
I once did a lesson for sixth graders. That's before B'nai Mitzvah. And I made up a letter from the 1950s where it said, if you're coming to shul and it's your bar mitzvah, the mothers must wear gloves and hats and everything. And of course the kids are like, what? And this was 20 years ago. And, right. And we have certainly seen, and Ike and I have talked about this, that people do not know how to be a good, here it's a community, but, at the movies, a good audience.
Oh.
That you talk at home, you can't talk here. And, or they don't know how to participate appropriately. And I don't know, maybe that'll get better. Merle, then Mary, then Lynn.
I thought the most important thing for me when I read this story is the question he asks, why do such well-heeled, successful people choose to break the law
Right.
in punishment and scorn when they already have everything? And I don't know the answer to, does anybody know the answer to that? What do you think is the answer to that? Is it just that people are so greedy?
I mean, you could take it to, they don't think they're cats, but they don't think anyone can see them. Okay. Mary, then Lynn, then Beverly.
Okay, I think that what's happened is that we have lost respect. That it's about me and not others. Respect has to do with looking at somebody else and saying, you know what, they deserve to be honored in some way. And my daughter, who lives in New York, we go to the ballet and people dress, and she puts on a skirt. She just still does this, even though she wears jeans to work. She'll put on her skirt and whatever. And I once asked.
She was a ballerina.
Right. She danced. So she has a lot of respect for the artist. Yeah. And even when she goes to Broadway, people in shorts, she still puts on, dresses up a little bit. She puts on a nice pair of pants.
Training.
Anyway, but we were in the ballet, and I said, look at these people. Some of these people aren't dressed. She goes, Mother, it's all about respect. She says they don't respect others. They don't understand. They go for their own enjoyment. They're not looking at what other people artistically have accomplished. And it's respect. And I think that's true with driving. We don't respect the other driver. We don't sit there and put ourselves into their shoes at all. It's just about us at the moment.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think about the famous statement of, power corrupts and
Absolutely.
Absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Absolutely. And these people get almost absolute power. They are absolutely, let's look at Musk. I mean, he's absolutely rich, the richest man in the world, or Putin or whoever. And I think that they have nothing but greed and lust for power, and that they don't care about others. There's no respect for others. And when the press stands up and lies to you, or the politicians lie to you, or whatever, that's just showing a total lack of respect for the people who are the audience.
Here, here. Lynn, then Beverly. Lynn?
My favorite story in here was Just Another Sinner. And I think the answer might be, or one answer might be, where is the line? What is the line that separates killing bugs from killing frogs?
It was a great line.
And I think that, I honestly think, because when someone does something dastardly, I say, well, how was he parented? And my feeling is that we as parents, and then we'll get to this when we talk about a writer's responsibility.
Yeah.
But a parent's responsibility is to teach their kids the lines, the boundaries. How far can you go and have it be a sin? I don't believe in this concept of sin, but how far can you go? And I think
I would say, how far can you go? It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
This is wrong.
Black and white, there's wrong.
Exactly. And are there consequences for going over that line? And I think in our homes today, as a teacher, I've seen it. I taught for over 34 years. I saw that line moving and moving and moving and moving. And to the point where girls were wearing midriffs to class. And the administrators were shocked. How can they leave the house? Well, they take a change of clothes, and they leave one way and then they change their clothes. So I think all of these, the search for power, whatever, but I feel it starts in the home. And how do you teach right from wrong? And if the parents don't do it, where are they going to learn that? So that's my feeling.
Yeah.
You don't, I think respect is a very important concept, but I think it has to be internal. I mean, I used to say to the kids, if we didn't have a cheating code in the school and you had to write it, when I was teaching, you had to write it across the top of your paper, I know of no cheating on this test. And if you saw cheating, you had to cross off, I know of cheating on this test. Well, that code went by the wayside years and years and years ago. And I said to the kids, if there were no code, would you cheat? And you know what they said?
Of course they would.
Yes.
Now you'd have to put AI. All right. I have Beverly. I'm sorry. I have Beverly, then Judy. Beverly.
Yeah.
No, Beverly, Abby, Judy, Pearl. God, this is.
Yeah.
Beverly, go.
I have a friend who has young children, and in that classroom, one of the kids came as an animal in an animal costume, and the parents allowed it. And so I wanted to just talk for 1 minute about the cat, because I think it's a very powerful metaphor for the people who feel, okay, Elon Musk, Trump, whoever you want to talk about, people in power, they feel they are somewhere else. They are cats.
Yes.
Or whatever animal they want to be. They're not of the human race. They don't have to follow the rules of that people follow. They're different. They're special. they're furry, they speak a different language. I thought that I loved the stories. And I think he's a terrific writer. But for me, the cat is the most significant piece of all of these stories.
Yeah. Here.
Mhm.
Abby, then Judy. Abby.
Okay, two things, getting back to the respect, and as for some of you who are educators, I'll just, this is probably about 15 years ago when we were doing a lot of walking at the Botanic Gardens with a group of women, a group of people. And one of the women who was an educator at Deerfield High School was saying that she had to call a parent about, a student behavior kind of issue. And the following day, the student came up to her and said, "Oh, by the way, when you call my house, my father is Dr. So-and-so. Please use da 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 da." And the teacher just turned and said, "When I call your house, I'm the professional in charge." And kind of stopped there. Now, the other thing was, and I mean, this was kind of a crusty woman that I was a little bit intimidated by too, but that's okay. But the other thing is in terms of the cat people, I mean, the furries are a real issue in the schools. And I know when my grandchildren, my granddaughters who were in junior high, they wanted to have a litter box in the schools for these furries. And actually, a couple of our grandchildren are very involved in BBYO when there was a regional convention not too long ago in Rosemont, which is where we run a lot of our events. And there was a convention of 16,000 of these furries in Rosemont. So they had to have extra security in terms of, just being there and so forth. So that is a real issue. What it represents, I know nothing more about it, but I know it's become more and more prevalent.
Yikes. Judy, then Meryl.
Last night, my grandson walked out of the elevator before me. So I said to him, women are usually given the preference to walk out of the elevator first. He said, "Grandma, we're equal."
I would have said anyone older than him.
I should have said something, but
I know.
it occurred to me,
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach him that women are equal with men.
Right.
So now so they
You
are.
could have gone with older.
Yeah, older would have been good. Where were you when I needed you?
Oh yeah, I don't take well to kids talking back. I've had a long time, and I've seen my personal children look on when they see somebody else backtalk me, and they're like, they leave the room and they don't want to see what I'm going to do. Meryl, go ahead.
I'm just connecting that story about the fat cats to the one about another sinner, just another sinner. I mean, when you talk about writers and politicians, what do they have in common? And there was that section in the story about there's a line between success and failure, between acceptance and rejection, between appreciation and scorn. And both writers and politicians are trying to achieve something there too. And for the writers, I thought, they are more likely to suffer in their jobs because they don't have what they need in the way these fat cat politicians do.
Yeah.
But there was someone who wrote a testimonial about the McDowell artist colony, and she said, "It's amazing how much extra time there is in a week when you don't have to worry about cooking, buying groceries, plowing through admin. McDowell Colony's motto is freedom to create and definitely lives up to its name." So I saw a little bit of comparison between the writers and the politicians trying to achieve something. And for the writers, it's to write the truth. And sometimes they just can't, and they don't achieve what they want. So anyway, there was a little bit of a comparison. Yeah.
Lynn.
This was my favorite story. And I think it's because I identified with writers, though I'm not a professional writer. And we listened to James McBride last night on his interview.
Was he great?
He was great. The narrator was. Anyway, that's beside the point. So the writer, my feeling is, and Merle, I agree with you. I mean, there is an overlap. There's a responsibility of a politician and there's a responsibility of a writer. And what is that responsibility? The responsibility is to awaken the conscience and the empathy of a country or a reader. And if you don't have empathy and you don't care about people, you're going to ignore that responsibility. The writer has a responsibility. The problem is, does he succumb to commercialism? And what if you saw the movie American Fiction, where he had to sacrifice his vision of the world because his publishers,
Great example, great movie.
he had to sacrifice his vision for the publisher's desire to make money. So I say, such is the way of the world. The writer didn't create it, but he's here to say what needs to be said. And his principles are paramount for the writer. Whether or not he is able to achieve that depends on the publisher that he's working for. The politicians, I don't know what their excuse is, except that they got Trump. And
Well,
Think they're cats.
they think they're cats.
They think they're cats.
But I do want to say one thing about Poser. When he was looking for the yoga class that would be
hysterical.
easy for him, and he's with pregnant women, and then he said they all drop out because they've had a baby. I thought that was
So funny.
hilarious. And and you can just, I'd love to meet his wife as well. She's like, come on, go do something, Alice.
Well, Vanessa, I don't know if you remember, I read ahead and I was laughing so hard from Poser. I was like, my husband was in the room. He said, "What are you laughing at?" I could not stop laughing. And part of it is I take Pilates, so I identify. But
I'm a
I
Pilates
just
girl,
thought-
so I loved it.
I know, but
Hysterical.
I don't know if there was anything serious about this story, except it was about his relationship with his wife. But
Right.
I just thought it was a good, what do I want to say, in between the Fat Cats and Just Another
Wait,
Sinner.
what do
which were
they
both
call when you get those little at those fancy weddings and you get the sorbets? It's a
Yeah.
palate cleanser.
Yes, it was. I agree. It cleansed my palate.
Right.
It made me ready to read something that was a little more serious again,
Right.
because I just thought his humor just shined in that
Right.
story.
And I didn't think anything that they'd have to drop out until he said that. So it was just funny. All right, Just Another Sinner.
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead, Alice. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say about Poser, and that it ends that he's looking at all these ballerinas. I mean that a lot of people who dance ballet do take Pilates. So I thought that was very realistic. Anyways, that's it.
All right, that's good. All right, so Just Another Sinner. That he was gonna go last. I don't know if that was
Because he didn't want to show up the other.
well, right, but was that hubris? Like,
Right.
right. So because he was, I think, impressed by these other not, kind of new writers. And then, I agree with Lynn. There's a line that separates killing bugs from killing frogs. And even if the writer has crossed it during his life, he still has to point it out. And I think that's, and if you go back to fat cats and politicians, they cross any line they want. They cross lines all the time. And it's like, they don't, there are no lines. And so it's, I think it's disturbing. And everyone on this call, I'm a boomer. And one, they have generations and different attributes to different generations. Boomers follow the rules. I am a rule follower. If they say, wear these clothes, I wear the clothes. Come at 8, I follow the rules. And our young, millennials, Gen X, they're like, woo, Gen Z. They're not rule followers. And so
They don't parent that way either.
oh, hell no. The parenting, that would be a whole nother, that's a whole nother more discussion.
Real quickly, Elaine's not here, but we had a discussion. Her daughter teaches junior high
Spanish.
right? She was talking to Elaine about the children in her class being hard to manage. And she said, the problem is in today's world, the parents are supposed to, and we're supposed to do soft parenting. And that's a term for it, soft parenting. So there's really no line. Maybe you negotiate with it. I don't know what soft is, just sort of like wishy-washy. And I think that's part of my problem.
Yeah.
There aren't rules, there aren't lines, and it doesn't have to be everything, but it has to be some things.
Right. I had super hard lines bringing my kids up. And my daughter, who's got 2 kids, when Max bites Esme, that's a hard line. You can't bite people. And he's gotten better about that. Note to self. But when things, they're laughing and then he's mad and he doesn't have as many words as she does. He bites. And she will stop things. And they go away for New Year's with all these friends. And she said, she goes, my kids are the only ones who were crying. I said, yeah, because you're the only one who says no. The rest of the kids are like wild animals. So they're not. Don't tell her I said that. You can't talk to anyone in my family. Yeah. Yes, Susan.
So you're talking about parenting. Well, I'm a lot older than you, Vanessa. My first child was born in 1961. So you can imagine what parenting was like then.
Like my mom.
I mean, there were rules, and you talk about yourself being a rule. To this day, I still live by the rules. My kids tease me about it, but that's just the way things are.
Right.
And I don't mean to go back, but when you're talking about cheating, and about Omer and what he did and what our politicians are doing. And these men and these high technocrats and everything, when you talk about the way they're all behaving as if they haven't already got enough, they keep needing more and more and more. And it just reminds me of my dear departed husband, who, when he retired early on in his early 60s, he said, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
I have enough.
Yeah.
And we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives if I just stop working now. And I'm exhausted because he was traveling the world. And you were all talking about Warsaw, but I was in Germany in the early 60s.
Ooh.
You can imagine. And then to have been there just a few years ago, again, the difference is amazing.
Yeah. That's
really amazing.
That's just first class experience, first-person experience. Jesse Eisenberg, who portrayed Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, and I think they look alike, was on Colbert, and Colbert was asking him, because it was right after the inauguration, and what did he think about that? And Jesse Eisenberg said, not unlike what your husband said, he said, why don't all those people, Musk, Gates, well, Gates does it a little bit and he wasn't there. I'm trying to think who else.
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos and Eisenberg. He goes, they have so much money. Why aren't they giving it away? Why aren't they trying to do good for people? And And he said that his wife, he and his wife tried to do all these, wonderful things. He has a movie out, A Real Pain, and it's about going back to Poland. I highly recommend it. And I hate to say this, but it's only an hour and a half. So it's well worth it, and it's streaming. And I just think that, some of these other movies, that's another whole class. But Lynn, you have your hand up.
Yeah, two things. One, when I was first starting out in teaching, I was given the advice that I should start out very tough with lots of rules and lots of boundaries, because you can always loosen up. If you start loose, it's very hard to bring them back. So I use that as parenting when I was parenting. I mean, if they don't know the boundaries and the lines to begin with, it's hard to bring them back and start teaching them what the lines are. So that's one thing. Another thing is, when I was teaching a separate piece to my students, which is a terrific book, because this young boy pushes his best friend out of a tree and cripples him. And the kid said, why would he do something like that? And it was to show that we all have a dark side. Whether you will admit it or not, we all have a dark side in us that's capable of doing not so nice things. And in here, which is what I loved about the story, this is on page 106, he talks about it's important for a writer not to think of himself as an angel. He's just as bad a sinner as everybody else. But it's his responsibility to show that dark side to his readers. Because in the separate piece and in this, if you aren't exposed to your dark side, there's never any chance for you to recognize it and to do something about it. So I don't know how Trump was raised. I understand not very well.
Very well.
And he was supposed to be a king, he was you're the king.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he even recognizes that he's so dark.
No.
And how, and how mean he is. I don't know if he has a clear understanding of who he is, or Musk. I don't know how he was raised either. So if you don't think that you're bad, or you have a dark side, you never are going to confront it and do something about it. So,
So I think Musk is on the spectrum, and I think Trump is a narcissist.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he's delusional and all of that, but it's just hard to.
Nobody realizes that Musk is really our president.
Yeah, who said, Tim Walz, Susan Wallach said something, nobody realizes that Musk's our president. Tim Walz said in a tweet, President Musk is not doing a good job, and to kind of dig at Trump. On page 106, again, from the day I began writing, I knew that truth. I knew it firmly and clearly, which I don't think some of our contemporaries, I don't think, there's no firm and there's no clear. But at that reading, when I came face to face with a real lion, that was with a woman who was so passionate in the McDowell colony in the heart of New Hampshire, and felt that fear for a second, I realized that even the sharpest knowledge we all possess can become blunted. Mary.
I think that what he's talking about too, if you know anything about it, he is a true activist.
Yes.
He is in the streets all the time in Israel. He does not blunt his thoughts. He writes all the time in the papers, editorials, and he's really, really strong. He really does not like Bibi, and he makes it very clear.
Yeah.
And he is for the judicial system being upheld, and he doesn't like corruption, and he calls it out. That's very hard when you are a writer and you have to have people like you, and you have to be able to get hired.
Yeah.
I mean, if the wrong people in power, he could not be hired. I mean, this is the reality, and it's something that our country is facing, is that if you work on a case, you've never been assigned to it, your career's done. If you say something, if you went to a DEI conference that,
The people in the FBI who persecuted the January 6 people. And I hate when they say J6, makes it sound, like a club. It's really becoming difficult.
so writers do have a responsibility to be truthful and to be blunt, and I think he really works at it. I think he is, and he continues to constantly work at it. So I think this is really meaningful to him.
Agreed. In the next one, shit happens.
I love this.
I thought this story, I'm sorry, was absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
And again, all the credit to his wife, because as soon as he says Euro Disney, and the wife is like, no, what's the matter with you? The kid is little, Judy.
I think one of the fun things was on 109. His brother asked for another copy of the story he wrote. And I thought, wasn't that nice? And then I turned the page.
I know.
And he's using it to pick up shit.
Yeah.
He asked him if he had another copy.
Yeah, that was
Nice.
It was so funny. I thought, oh boy, great.
right. But I also do think that, oh, wait a minute. Is this not the one about going to Euro Disney?
No, that's not.
No.
I'm sorry. That's bemusement park. This is shit happens.
Yeah.
Or by my birthday. Okay.
This isn't the one about Disney.
No, I'm sorry.
The amusement park is about Disney.
Yes, which would make more sense.
Did you know he was an anti-Semite?
Who?
Walt Disney?
Yes, a virulent anti-Semite.
Like until I read this.
This is terrible. Hated Jews, Henry Ford, all of them. Merle.
Well, I knew about Henry Ford.
Were
there no Jewish musketeers?
No,
Gone to Disney.
probably not.
Disney.
I'm sorry, Merle, go ahead.
Okay, I think that he got over the fact that his brother used the paper to pick up dog poop because
Yeah.
he then says the printed page was just a pipeline through which he could transmit his feelings from his mind to his brother's. And I think that was the point of the writing. Keep on writing.
Yes.
Because you
Right.
need to do this. He couldn't survive without it. And that got him through the 2 years of compulsory studies.
Right.
But the paper, all right, so he used the paper, but it was he had already transmitted his thoughts to his brother.
Right. And then he went and he woke up his brother in the middle of the night and, probably early in the morning. But that, I know when I read this, you don't realize when you praise someone how that can last. And when you say to the checkout, woman, I like your earrings, or
I do that.
yes, because I think people
Want to be seen as.
want to be seen and think about, and I know when people say nice things to me, I always like that because believe me, they're going to come find me when they have a problem and they didn't like this and I can't hear that. And, they know where to find me for complaints. So I think that is just so important.
All the time.
Yeah.
I make it a point.
Leading with being nice, which again, our government isn't. Lynn.
I connected using the paper to clean up poop, going back to 107 with a writer, and he talks about a writer needing reinforcement and support.
Yes.
And so he says, on the top of 107, I realize that even the sharpest knowledge we all possess can become blunted. Someone who creates without support or reinforcement, who can write only after working hours, surrounded by people who aren't even sure he has talent, will always remember the truth. And that also too, who do you write for? Do you write for yourself, or do you write for your publisher, or do you write for your audience? And when his brother compliments him and then says, do you have another copy? I needed to pick up the poop. I don't think he has to go, he has to discover at the end, the last sentence, I have to discover my own magic. You have to have faith in yourself, but how do you do that if your public doesn't like you, or your publisher doesn't like you, or your brother doesn't like what you say?
Right. Right. And then shit happens. I discovered the magic that I needed to help me survive the 2 long years until my discharge, because he was also in the Army at that
Right,
time. And
right.
for someone that creative, I think, and again, talk about following the rules and every day is the same. It's got to be very hard. Merle.
So one of my daughters was writing an art history paper and she was in college. She was at Michigan and she said, Mom, that Grant Wood book, please send it to me. That's the best book. I don't even want to get it out of the library. Just send me that book. And so she said she needed it to write a paper. So I remember going through all this. I have to find the book, go to the post office, ship it to her. I've gone through all this trouble. And then the next time I visited her in Ann Arbor and I was in her room, I saw the book was being used to prop up her mini fridge.
Sorry.
I guess she actually did use the book for paper, and I hope, and then put it under the mini fridge.
On a second use.
That's just hilarious. Just hilarious. If we can talk, we can still get through this last man standing. We have all been on airplane flights when somebody needs to get on and there's been a whatever. And I give kol hakavod to the airplane pilot for letting him sit in the jump seat. Because, that, I don't know that we would see that in 2025.
Oh, never.
Never. Yeah. Never, ever. Yeah. Everybody's shaking their hand. That never would have happened. And that is a solution, and these pilots have a lot on their minds. And, those 2 airline crashes last week, it's so sad. And, the government trying to get rid of the FAA, whatever.
They did. They fired them all out. Of course.
And Reagan started that. Alice.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I just thought, it was wonderful what the airplane pilot did. And also, I just thought it was a great expression of the strength of his love. I mean,
Yes.
he had to get to Amsterdam.
yeah.
He was not getting on. I mean, he was really close to, I think, being arrested, the way he was talking to the flight attendant, the way he was talking to the pilot. But his mind was just about the love he had for his future wife. So,
So I also thought it was hilarious. Amusement park, it starts off with the family friend who's missing a finger.
Yeah.
And like, he's never going to do that again. So, and that
Is that the same guy at the end?
It ends with the 4-fingered hand.
yes, and it ends with a 4-fingered hand for Mickey.
Mickey has 4 fingers.
Oh, Mickey.
But I also think that this goes back to the fat cat, that the people with the money got. And if you, I haven't been to Disney in these many years, but there's fast passes. If you have money, you can circumvent the rules and the lines and everything. And the kid says, I'm going to have shekel Disney. It's like here, but instead of taking euros from people, we'll take shekels, exclaimed my financial midget.
Yeah. He's so funny.
He's so funny. So funny. And
so funny.
and I think that I think all of us, Eiffel Tower, Euro Disney, for us, there's no comparison. And this little kid who also going back to fat cats who got the chocolate, I mean, has been super manipulative and doing all of that. So, we made it. Year 6 on February 14th. I will announce now I'm leaving for DC right after that class. So I'm going to have to end on time and run out of here to.
I don't have what's going on I only have through February 5th.
Okay, I will send it to you. I send like this recording and I'll put everything that's happening.
Vanessa, is the link always the same?
Yes.
Or I'm going to put the link in my thing right now. You don't have to send it to me next time. Okay, thank you.
Do you not get my email, Ellen?
I do, but I've been so, it was just easier to email you yesterday.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Just
You
check.
said February 14th, but that's a.
No, 19.
February 19.
Oh, you
It says
said
that here.
14.
Yeah, it says
19.
19.
19.
We'll make it again.
Is it
We'll
six?
pick a
And
new
what-
book, so
you're
you'll let us
7 is
know.
So, yeah, no, we have 2 more chapters. I mean, we have 2 more years. We have year 6 and year 7.
Oh, so
And
we're gonna-
I may send out the books that I'm thinking about and maybe have people vote on it and we can take it from there.
We still
What
have the
date
rest
is,
of these
what
books.
date are we gonna have your 7?
Oh, now now, what date are we gonna have year 7? That's so if we have February, March 5th,
March 5th is what?
year 7.
Oh, so we're skipping a week?
No,
What?
no
Are we
small
skipping a
tiny.
week?
No. So it's the 1st and 3rd.
Oh, 1st and 3rd. Right.
Wait, I don't
No
understand.
small.
I'm gonna send it out I'm sorry, Sandy, what?
Yeah,
Please don't put it in, pick out books in small tiny print.
I will
Some-
try to get some that are in large print. Absolutely.
Or at
so we're
least
not
normal.
doing this book next time.
Yes, we
We are
are.
gonna do this.
We're doing this for another month.
Okay.
This is every other week.
Okay.
And then in the next 10 days, I will try to send out some books. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Meryl?
I wish Sandy would please get a Kindle, Sandy. You can make the print so large. You could make it always be comfortable and it would never restrict you as to what you're reading because all the new modern books are printed in Kindle. You'd be so much.
You're used to holding a book. I like
I
to
know,
buy
it's
books,
good.
get
I
that.
like
I read it on my,
I have to read a book. So you're saying for the next, so can you tell
I
us what
love
we're gonna
this.
read the? which
Yes,
chapters?
yes. Next, so we just did year 5. Year
Yeah.
6 is
Year 6.
February 19th.
Okay.
Year 7 is March 5th, but I will send it out tonight, this
Okay.
morning. And you'll see it in,
March 5th.
Yeah, Lynn?
Vanessa, you sent out, if people printed it out, you sent out on January 7th.
right.
The subject is short story schedule for January and February. And you have all the dates on here and when we're reading them. And you
Yeah.
said, we will meet again on February 19th, which I assumed was year 6. March 5th was year 7. And the 19th is open. So if you guys I print these out when Vanessa
You too,
said.
I-
Thank you, Lynn.
I have it printed out.
I have it printed out at
Yeah.
home.
Okay, so
But
it's,
I keep sending it out for those of you who just delete or whatever. And so everybody has it. And
On the
it's
19th.
also usually in Macomb at Home because Stacy always says, what are you reading? What are you reading?
So the 19th will be a new book.
No,
We're gonna discuss it.
I mean, March 19th?
Yeah, March 19th.
Let me look.
Yeah, I'm talking about February 10th is year 6. March 5th is year 7.
Yes, March 19th will be a new book.
A new book.
Yep. Yep.
uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, I won't be around. I'm gonna be gone for 6 weeks, so
Okay.
I'll be on Zoom, but I won't have any.
Okay.
I don't
But I'm gonna send the books around in the next couple days. Lynn, if you can just look them over and say, yes, no, maybe.
Okay.
That'd be great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know how old Zev is at this, at the end of the book? Lev.
He's in the army now. And so he just getting in or just getting out. And this is at least 10 years old. So he was probably 8 by the end of the book.
So I would like to know how he turned out.
Okay, I'll see what I can find. And I know that, I think I was telling someone, and I'll do some research. Etgar Keret was on This American Life. So I need to find those interviews for you and then you can listen to it and we'll find out. And I'm sure there's a lot of interest in Lev Keret in Israel because he's got a famous father.
Yeah.
And mother.
And he sounds like an incredible
Oh,
kid.
yes.
And
All right.
his mother is very
famous.
precocious.
I wonder if he still thinks he's a cat.
Yeah.
We can hope not.
I
Well,
hope
not in a bad way.
Wealthy.
We've
She's
been
got-
traveling the whole time the class has been going
They
on.
might
We
not
have
be.
just arrived at
But
Waldheim
the Giffen family,
Cemetery.
right. He's a-
Okay, glad to speed your trip along, Sandy.
Yeah, this is the real history
She
of
does.
the old Jewish Chicago.
Absolutely. Ellen, did you have
actress.
She leave? She's fine, excellent. Okay, good to see everyone. If you need anything, you know where to find me, and I'll send out this recording shortly. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.